share, subscribe, click on that bell for notifications. And if you are listening on Spotify or Apple Music, give us a follow, give us a listen. That would be fantastic. Got some upcoming shows for you all. On the 20th of April, 4:20 at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, Dr. Monica Tanner. She is a straight-edge psychologist, pilot, and a cancer survivor. Be sure to check that one out. And on the 27th of April at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, we've got Donnie Polinsky, the DRP. He's also the vocalist for Primer 55, and he has worked with Force 5 Records and Suburban Noise Records. That's at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. And we've got Gina Marie Campbell from Scarhead and Revival. That's going to be on the 4th of April at 5 p.m. 4th of May at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. I have an official merchandising company. It's called Hell's Heart Merch Co. Go to hellsheartco.bigcartel.com. Use the code 20 for 20% off your entire order. They're fine Bella Canvas t-shirts, tri-blend. They feel amazing. If you like movies, if you like hardcore and metal, be sure to check it out. My next guest today, really awesome guy. I had the pleasure of meeting him in South Carolina at one of their shows. He's an amazing musician. He is killing it on the skins. Absolutely incredible. One of the best drummers I've ever seen live. And he is a Twin Peaks aficionado. He is the drummer for ZAO and From Autumn to Ashes. Ladies and gentlemen, Jeff Gretz. Thank you so much for being here, Jeff.
Hey, no problem. My pleasure.
Dude, man, I love that live from the church sessions. I think that's really incredible. And we just had Russ on here, and he was talking about how he set that all up and he did all the filming for it. And it really looks amazing. And your guys' talent just shines throughout it. It's incredible.
Yeah, it was that was an interesting one because like I sort of brainstormed the idea of doing it, and like just general concept, but I had no idea how to go about getting it done. And like Russ stepped in, like, and that's kind of how we function with a lot of stuff in ZAO. Like people wear different hats. Like, so I came up with this idea and then Russ is like, oh, I can get us a crew. I can get these people. I can help edit. We knocked it out we like rehearsed for it for 2 days, did 1 day of filming, and it was edited within like 2 weeks. It just took forever for us to put out the physical version of it.
Wow.
The part that I thought was going to be hard, we got from conception to completion was done in a matter of like 6 weeks total. And then it took us 2 years to figure out how to put it out. Like, I never knew making a Blu-ray was so difficult, but it is.
I don't know anything about the technical aspects on that, and I'm slowly been dabbling into. I did a music video myself, and I've been slowly learning about the production end of it and the technical end of it, and it's complicated. But I commend you guys for doing it in such a relatively short period of time. You know, not the 2 years part, obviously, but the actual recording process. That's probably the biggest pain in the ass, truthfully. So. Really, really good. If anybody's listening, please be sure to check that out. It's incredible. I love it. I love all the material on it too. And wanted to mention to the audience, if you have any sort of questions, be sure to save them towards the end of the stream, because out of consideration for the guests and everything, unless, however, you want to do a super chat, you want to give a donation to the channel, that would be greatly appreciated. I'll throw it up right then and there. So something to think about. So my first question for you, Jeff, is, what was your earliest memory of music? Did you have family members that play music? What was going on in the household as far as music-wise? And did you play in a high school band? How did you get into drumming? And what was your first non-metal and hardcore concert? What do you remember?
Okay. So to start out on the getting started playing, my dad was a drummer. So that the drums were always in the house. And he was actively playing in bands. When I was little, he was in a band, and that was sort of at the tail end of like the disco scene. So he was in like this like full tilt, like they were a large band, like background singers, percussionists, and they were doing like disco, like in clubs, like live band. So I sort of got the drums were always there, and I was able to play them. But yeah, he had always played in bands since he was in high school. He was in like this, rock band in the '60s. They were called the Reverbs, and they actually drove around in a 1950s hearse. Like they didn't have like a tour van. They had a hearse with the band name on the side of it. So he was always like really into music, totally got me into playing. And I would just like put on headphones and play along to the records that he had, like Beatles records, Jimi Hendrix, Zeppelin. My mom was real into Neil Diamond, so that was always there. I'd play along to Neil Diamond records. That was kind of my upbringing, and I started playing when I was probably about 3 or 4 years old.
Wow.
And he never really taught. He never gave me lessons. He just kind of let me feel it out myself, and then he would give me tips every once in a while. And then probably when I was in about third grade, he got me a drum teacher. He's like, I can't teach my own son, and now I understand that. Like, you can't teach your own kid; it's too. But yeah, so then I just kept, I just went with it from there. And I did all the typical stuff, like in middle school, like I was in the band in middle school, and I did the high school marching band stuff and all that. But yeah, right around probably high school, I started playing in bands. Like I making my own bands with friends of mine. One of my first bands ever was a band called Crank Radio, and here in the Greensburg, Pittsburgh sort of surrounding area, my band used to play with Scott's band, like in Marty's band when Marty was in Pensive with Brett and all the guys from Juliana Theory, and Russ was in bands, and all our bands played together. The bands that Dan were in, like we played the same shows when we were in high school. Like we all knew each other back then. And yeah, so that was kind of, it's always been a mix for me, a mix between like, I've always had like the rock bands or punk bands or metal bands on the side, but even throughout junior high school, I was doing stuff like, youth symphony orchestras and like jazz workshops. And then I ended up going to college for music, where pretty much my focus there was on like orchestral percussion. Like I was like learning like timpani, marimbas, xylophone, all that. The whole time, I'd go and I'd put on my tuxedo and play with an orchestra. And then the next day I was at a basement punk show playing. And then, whatever. That's been my life. It's just bouncing around.
Know about the dichotomy of playing in a symphony orchestra and then you playing in a punk band? Like, did your friends that were in punk and hardcore know that you played in the symphony and vice versa?
Oh yeah. I mean, some of the orchestra people, they were just like fascinated with it. They were just like, what? But a lot of those people never focused on drum set anyway, so it wasn't really like something they even thought they could do. Like even with like some of the orchestra stuff that I did, they're like, oh, there's a drum set part. Oh, give it to Jeff. He can play the kid. Like, but I always liked just doing all that different stuff. So that was kind of like my little music, climb up the ladder of always just playing, trying to learn as much as I could from any genre, playing, like jazz in a restaurant, or playing in an orchestra, or playing drums for a musical, or all that kind of stuff. It was all drumming to me. It was all music. And I was like, I can learn something from any of this. So, and my dad sort of instilled that in me. He's like, if you can play. Don't worry about what the music is. Play as much as you can. Learn as much as you can. So that was kind of my...
It would seem to be able to make you a better drummer anyway, to be able to appreciate and play within different genres. I think that would kind of make you, it gives you kind of an eclectic experience so that, yeah, you are able to kind of, okay, I want you to play. I understand you just played in a drag show.
Yeah, yeah. Played for a drag queen at the Stonewall Inn in Manhattan, which it was funny because I was talking to a friend of mine, and he's like, you didn't just play for a drag queen at a gay bar, you played for a drag queen at the gay bar, like the Stonewall. Like that's like the epitome of it. It was amazing. It was fascinating, and it was all like it's like the first song in the set was like a Bette Midler song, and then we played White Rabbit by the Jefferson Airplane, and we played
Oh, nice.
yeah, I mean did a Miley Cyrus song. We did some Neil Young covers, and there were costume changes, and it was a great night. It was fun. I've never done anything like that, and it was wow. That was
It was wild.
definitely it was wild.
So people will hire you as session drummers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I have like a core group of bands that I play with, even in New York, like outside of even stuff outside of ZAO and From Autumn to Ashes. There are some like regular bands that I play with, but sometimes it's random stuff. Sometimes it's like, hey, a friend of mine, somebody will call me up like, hey, I'm recording an album, and it might be like singer songwriter folky type stuff, and they'll be like, we need a drummer. Can you come, can we hire you to play drums on our record? And I'll go to they'll send me the demos, and I'll come up with drum parts. I go into the studio and I lay it down, and I move on. Sometimes they like,
Magic
hey,
happens.
Sometimes they're like, hey, will you play live with me? And I've had musical relationships that started that way, where it was a one-off session, then it turned into playing live occasionally. Yeah. I love being in the studio. Like, so any opportunity to go record, I'm all over it.
See, I'm the exact opposite. I hate being in the studio. I like the actual process of piecing everything together, but it can be so tedious. And from an acting perspective, it's almost the difference between being on a film set versus being on a stage performing a play. Like there's a lot more of an organic aspect to actually being with a live audience versus
Oh yeah.
working with a bunch of machinery. So, but yeah, I do enjoy the process because it it is like putting a jigsaw puzzle together. You can put all the little pieces here and there, and then especially when you add all the instruments and all the layers and stuff, it's like I almost feel like Trent Reznor has such a good time with it because it's like you'll hear the beat start, and then he'll add another instrument, and then he'll add another instrument, and then it's just like it becomes a completely different beast, and it ends up sounding amazing. Yeah.
But I mean, I like both. I like both for different reasons. Like even with ZAO, like putting together a record is, we really think a lot of things out about it. We keep the performances as raw as possible, but we love the idea of like layering things and presenting it in that way. But then we try to forget as much of that as possible when we go out live. Like, so it's like we get both sides of it. It's like we're going to document this in a certain way, but now when we're live, like it can breathe, it can do its thing. We don't worry about, well, this was on the record, we have to do it that way. We just like let it go.
Yeah. Let it flow. So back to what we were saying about your early musical origins. What do you remember as being your first non-metal, non-hardcore, non-heavy concert?
It was the Beach Boys. The Beach
With
Boys.
Mike Love or?
Oh, they were all there. Brian Wilson.
Oh.
It was.
Oh, damn.
It was right before they put out the song Kokomo. So it was all the Beach Boys. Brian, Carl, Mike, Al, Bruce Johnson, they were all there, except Dennis. Dennis had already died.
Yeah.
But playing drums instead of Dennis Wilson, John Stamos.
What?
So it's pretty much all the surviving Beach Boys with John Stamos on drums. And because it was right before the song Kokomo came out, they did not play it, which I was in retrospect, I'm totally fine with. because I love the Beach Boys, but don't get me started on Kokomo.
Pet Sounds is one of the best albums ever. And you want to talk about layering? That album,
Oh yeah,
they did so much with, the limited recording technology they had. And Brian Wilson was just like a madman, just kept like layering upon layering and just making it so much thicker and fuller. And it's interesting that you mentioned John Stamos, because now that explains why the Beach Boys always landed on Full House. I remember growing up as a kid and always seeing them on the show, and I was like, what sort of connection do they have with these guys? Really wasn't aware that John Stamos was a drummer, so there it is.
Yeah, and I think there was an episode of Full House where they actually go to a Beach Boys concert and they're like dancing around on stage, and that would have been the same tour that I saw the Beach Boys on.
Oh, no way.
And Full House had just been on. Like, I don't think it had even been a full season yet. So even at the concert, when they introduced him on drums, they're like, and John Stamos, star of the show Full House, and barely anyone applauded because the show hadn't really caught on yet. So it was like, so that was my first like concert.
That's wild.
The next concert after that was Neil Diamond. And that was also a great concert.
Nice. Right. Yeah, I would have loved to have seen the Beach Boys. I know that they're kind of different in their current iteration. Do they still play?
There's a big feud happening. If you see something that says Beach Boys, it's like Mike Love.
It's Mike Love and the Beach Boys.
And a bunch of hired guns. And then Brian Wilson does his own solo tours.
Okay.
I would totally go see Brian. Fuck Mike Love.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because Mike Love always seemed to be kind of like, not the real affable one, but he was kind of like a workhorse behind the whole band. He's like, let's get it done. Let's go. Yeah. Let's do it. And like, there is an aspect of that I can appreciate, because it almost seems like every band sort of needs somebody like that, to kind of kick everything into gear and keep it in motion.
Yeah. I mean, I just, like, and again, I get like real big into like the music trivia, like history stuff, like just the amount of things like about like, Mike was the reason that Brian like secluded himself. Like Mike was always like an agitator, and it's like, leave Brian alone, man. Just let him make his music.
He's had enough problems, but now, how did that seg into metal and hardcore? What do you remember as being your earliest memories of seeing like a metal, hardcore, punk band?
Probably just being around, like, like playing shows with my friends. Like those are probably my first experience of like metal and hardcore. It was on like the local like VFW house show type thing. Because that was just the easiest way to access it at that age when I was getting into it. I live, maybe about 45 minutes from Pittsburgh, which is where most of those shows were happening. So in like 10th grade, getting down there, it was kind of a pain. Like you had to have a friend that drove, and then, oh, it's a school night. Parents aren't letting me go down to the city. Like, so it was like hard to like get access to it unless it was stuff happening right around us. Like, so I was listening to the music a while before I actually got to see anything like that in person. Trying to even think of like what some of my first like hardcore or metal or punk shows would have been. Like I said, it's just I think back and it's like it would have been stuff that like friends that I knew that were playing.
Yeah.
I mean, the first thing that I remember going to that was like a club show, like heavier stuff, was it was Faith No More with Helmet opening.
Oh,
like,
shit.
That was like my first like club show, and that was like on the Faith No More's Angel Dust tour.
Oh, that's a great album.
So yeah, and that was like my first time like in a club seeing, and like that was when like the lid came off once I started going to heavier shows like that. And that was like I saw like Fishbone and Biohazard and Onyx. It was Fishbone, Biohazard, and Onyx.
So that would have been around the time the Judgment Night was out, right?
Yes. And that was the most violent show I've ever been to. And hands down. And then like,
what happened?
Then, it's just the crowd, and it was just chaos. It was just chaos. It's like Fishbone shows back then were wild, like the stage diving and like the band doing it and the crowd. Jesus Lizard was up there too.
Oh,
Jesus
great
Lizard
fucking
was one of
band.
my first like, wow, this is crazy. The singer's in the crowd more than he's on the stage. And now is he pulling his pants down? Oh, yep, he's pulling his pants down. Like, this is what we're doing here. Like,
That's awesome. Well, not that part, but that's awesome that it was so intense and insane like that. You know, I kind of miss that about hardcore shows sometimes and metal shows. It happens every once in a while, but you know, a lot of stuff is relatively tame nowadays and kind of benign. You know, and I would love to see that original spirit of hardcore and metal come back. And so, how did you get connected with ZAO? Because you know, for the longest time, Jesse Smith was the drummer and incredible talent. That guy was amazing. And
yeah,
one of the first metal and hardcore bands that I got into was ZAO. And it was right around the time that Splinter Shards was, it was probably in between Splinter Shards and where Blood and Fire brings rest. Like Blood and Fire had just come out. So that new era of ZAO was just sort of being birthed at that time.
yeah.
And it blew me away. I was just like, holy shit, I'd never heard anything like it. And so, you know, he was the longest standing member. He was a really great contributor to it all. And then he left. And I'm pretty sure that they had a drummer in between him
Yeah.
and you.
Yeah.
So how did you get connected with those guys?
Well, I mean,
Like, obviously you played with them in bands before, but like, how did it come to be that they asked you to be a part of it?
yeah, I mean, it's crazy because like we were all really close before they were in ZAO, and I remember when Brett Detter was the first person to join ZAO out of our circle, and then he brought Russ and Dan in, and then Scott came in a little bit later, but I kind of lost track of them because they were off doing their ZAO thing. You know, I was here in
Mm-hmm.
Pennsylvania. I was doing my freelance stuff. I had my own bands. They were off doing ZAO. And I remember when Jesse left and they got Stephen Peck, who was from the same circle here in Pennsylvania. He was in Dan and Russ's old band. So him coming in was an organic thing. And I was teaching drum lessons here in town, and Dan was tattooing up the street. And I happened to run into him one day. He was in between ZAO tours and was doing his tattoo stuff. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm teaching drum lessons here at the store. And I handed him a CD of my band, and he knew my bandmates because we were all from the same circle. And I'm like, oh, here's our new band. If ZAO ever needs an opener, let me know. Like one of those kind of things. And it was about 3 weeks later, he left a note at the music store where I was teaching lessons, and it said, Dan from ZAO, need drummer. And I literally walked up to the tattoo shop and I'm like, what's going on? He's like, yeah, Steven doesn't want to tour anymore. We have some tours coming up. Would you like to fill in? And I'm like, oh yeah, sure. And so I never left. It just stayed. Like, so it's like the first time that we all got together to rehearse, we were all like just talking about like the same stuff we were talking about before because we all knew the same people. Like it was just like, it's like I didn't audition. They're just like, we know you can do it. We know we like you. Come be in the band. Like it was as simple and as random as all that.
Just natural progression. That's great. Yeah. I mean, it's always kind of great to play around friends too, you know, people that you're already kind of acquainted with. You already kind of know their personality types, their quirks, and you know what kind of, you know, what things they like, what pisses them off, and so it's easier when you kind of have that established dynamic already.
And that's kind of been the thing with ZAO since, you know, ever Jesse was the sort of the you know, with him starting the band with his friends in West Virginia, the original lineup of the band, one of their first shows out of town was set up by Marty, our current bass player. So like our scene and the original ZAO lineup were intertwined way back in the Splinter Shards era. Like
Oh,
it,
wow.
so it like it's that's why when everybody left the original lineup and he started bringing in like Brett and Russ and Dan, he knew Brett and Russ and Dan from the bands that ZAO was playing with. And then from that, so everything has been organic. I don't think anyone has ever come into since ever. No one has ever come into the band based on like, oh, we have an opening and we're going to hold auditions. Like that's never been a situation. It's always been like, oh, well, here's so and so, like they said, like, oh, let's just call Jeff and see if he'll do it. Like, and I'm like, yeah, I'll do it. And that was it. Like that was, you go with who you know.
Yeah. My first band was like that. It was all people I went to high school with or we'd played shows with previously. And yeah, truthfully, it just kind of makes things easier. It's not so where you have to figure somebody out in order to like see if they'll be a good fit. You'll be like, oh yeah, this guy's good, But is there any particular like knucklehead or jokester in ZAO?
I think the closest thing to a knucklehead or jokester would be our merch guy JD. But everyone in the band is pretty much, we all have our quirks. Everyone has their little roles, but I don't know if anyone's really the jokester.
Okay.
Or like that.
No practical jokes on the road or anything?
Not really, no. We're pretty, I mean, especially for the past like 10 years, we're very down to business. We don't play a lot. So when we go out, everyone's on board 100%. Like, I think the closest thing to a personality, we always call Dan. We always used to call him the ambassador. Anytime we were at the first day of a tour with a bunch of other bands or we're at a festival somewhere, Dan is the ambassador. He always goes out and makes friends. Like he's the one that goes out and he knows who the people are that party. He's like just kind of goes out and like, scans the scene and like, these are the people to hang with. These are if you want to have a good time on the road, stick with Dan. He will show you where it's not like a party, like not like a wild party vibe, but the people that are cool to like just sort of relax and have fun with.
That's great. I mean, it's always good to have somebody like that too. Somebody's got to be a diplomat and go out there and kind of suss the scene for people that are going to be cool and yeah, people to just make friends with and whatnot. So, as we had mentioned off stage, you're a big Twin Peaks fan, and it is about halfway through the show, and so we are going to be doing some Twin Peaks trivia. So everybody, get ready for this. I meant to ask you, are you a fan of Twin Peaks season 3?
Oh, absolutely. Like,
are you?
Massive.
Okay.
I think I'm in a lot of ways. I think I might enjoy it in a weird way more than the original series.
Really?
I mean, I'm a huge David Lynch fan anyway, and I really feel like The Return was like a culmination of his entire life's work wrapped up in a package of Twin Peaks, which is like bonus. Like,
okay.
Pretty much everyone is there. Russ is the only person that really isn't on the Twin Peaks.
That's what he was saying.
Yeah. Yeah. But the rest of us, that's literally when The Return was on and we were playing shows, that's all we talked about. That is all.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you had commented on the picture that I had when I did the Twin Peaks pop-up in Los Angeles where I was in the Black Lodge and you and I got to talking about Twin Peaks. Personally, myself, I feel like I need to give season 3 another rewatch because to me, I love the levity of the first and second seasons of Twin Peaks. To me, it just seemed like it had a lot more quirkiness and it was a little bit more relatable. And to be truthful, I could see why that aspect of it would get it on network TV. When they started going to the Black Lodge and stuff and doing all that crazy shit, I was like, how did this play on TV back in the day, regular TV? This is crazy.
I
like,
watched
but
it in
people
real
loved
time
it,
when
you know?
I watched it in real time when it was airing originally. Like, I just happened to catch the pilot when it aired, and so I watched Twin Peaks in real time with everyone else. And it was nuts. It was nuts. Like,
and it was a huge sensation.
It was, and people were just like, "What was that?" Like, there would be certain episodes, and people were like, "What the hell just happened?" No, it was something to be a part of at the time. Like, it was. I was right at the perfect age when it hit. I was like,
yeah, I was a little too young.
Yeah, I was like 13, 14, just old enough to be like, okay, like I can get it, and like all my friends were into it, and like, yeah, that was the big
I remember when it was a thing. Yeah, I remember when it was a thing. I was about 8 or 9 years old, and I just remember seeing it on magazines, and they were like parrying it on Saturday Night Live and stuff like that. Yeah. So I wouldn't have been at the right age to appreciate it at the time, but maybe I need to go back and give season 3 a rewatch. I definitely liked a lot of the aspects of it, because I do like the darker Lynch films. Yeah. And it almost seems like tonally it's more in line with Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me, the movie, like that movie is way more dark than the actual television show. And I think season 3 kind of,
I mean, honestly,
continues in that spirit.
As much as I love Twin Peaks, Fire Walk with Me is a rough watch. Like, it's rough. Like,
yeah,
I mean, I enjoy it, but it's hard. It's brutal.
Yeah.
Emotionally, it's a rough thing to watch.
You almost have to disassociate it from the shows.
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to do some Twin Peaks trivia. 10 questions.
I'm going to bomb this. Watch.
I don't know about that.
Right,
so let's see here. Well, if I can pull it up. Damn. It's on here somewhere. Okay, here we go. Twin Peaks trivia. Number 1. This is multiple choice, by the way.
Okay.
What is the... Here's an easy one. What is the name of the town where Twin Peaks takes place? Is it A, Deer Meadow, B, Twin Peaks, C, Whitetail Falls, or D, Ghostwood?
Twin Peaks.
There you go. Perfect. All right. Number 2. Who is the FBI agent sent to investigate Laura Palmer's murder? Is it A, Albert Rosenfield, B, Gordon Cole, C, Dale Cooper, or D, Wyndham Earle?
Dale Cooper.
There you go. Some of these are easy, but they increase in difficulty. Okay. So, number 3. What phrase does a man from another place say in Agent Cooper's dream? A, she is the one. B, through the darkness of future past. C, that gum you like is going to come back in style. D, I'll see you again in 25 years.
Gum.
You nailed it. And see, on first guess, I thought it was the 25 years one. I was like, oh shit, I failed.
Well, I just saw Ross posted in the comments. He wrote, "I'm out."
Yes. Oh,
see, we lost Ross on the Twin Peaks.
Sorry, Russ. Sorry, we're Lynch fans here. Okay. Number 4. What is the name of the log-carrying woman in the town? Is it A, Norma Jennings, B, Sarah Palmer, C, Margaret Lanterman, or D, Donna Hayward?
Margaret Lanterman. See ya.
You nailed it. These are right up your alley, sir. Number 5. What is the name of the bar where Julie Cruz often performs? Is it A, the Great Northern, B, the Black Lodge, C, the Bang Bang Bar, or D, the Roadhouse?
It could be either C or D. That's a big controversy in Twin Peaks fans. Sometimes it says Bang. Yeah, sometimes it says Bang Bang Bar. Sometimes it's the Roadhouse. They call it the Roadhouse, but the sign says Bang Bang. I'm gonna go with Roadhouse.
Okay, yeah, that's the official answer. Okay. But yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, that's true.
Sometimes the neon sign says Bang Bang Bar.
That's true, yeah. Let's see. Number 6. What food does Agent Cooper famously love? Is it A, cherry pie and coffee, B, pancakes and syrup,
A.
C? Okay, there you go. You already knew. That's a pretty easy one too. All right. Number 7. What is Bob? A drifter with a vendetta, B, a demonic spirit, C, a corrupt businessman, or D, a member of the Bookhouse Boys?
What was A again?
A drifter with a vendetta.
And what was B?
A demonic spirit.
Yeah, B.
There you go. Demonic spirit. Yeah. It's interesting.
I was actually going with that. Yeah.
When I was actually in Hollywood, I was sitting in one of my acting classes one time, and there was a guy that was just sitting there in the back, and he was the weirdest, most unusual guy you'd ever seen. And I remember he left. He wasn't there for anybody either. Like, he didn't know anybody there, and he didn't, like, we were just in between classes or something. And he was just in the back row sitting, and he just started kind of talking to us randomly. And we were like, so who are you here to see? And like, he just didn't have an answer for us. And then he left. And I remember looking at the rest of the students. I said, has anybody ever seen Twin Peaks? And this one girl was like, yeah. And I was like, he looks like Bob, doesn't he? And she was like, yeah. And I was like, it was the most surreal experience ever. It could have been Bob. I don't know. No, I don't know. Maybe it could have been that actor. I don't know. Number 8. What's the name of Laura Palmer's cousin who looks just like her? Is it A, Audrey Horne, B, Donna Hayward, C, Maddie Ferguson, or D, Shelley Johnson?
Maddie Ferguson.
You nailed it. You nailed it. All right. That was a good way to bring Sheryl Lee back. I feel like she just played a dead body, like at least they got to give her some screen time in that and from Fire Walk with Me. Number 9, who runs the Double R Diner? Is it A, Ed Hurley, B, Norma Jennings, C, Bobby Briggs, or D, Lucy Moran?
B, Norma Jennings.
Nailed it. Nailed it. All right. Number 10. In The Return, season 3, what strange object is found in New York City inside a glass box? Is it A, an owl, B, a ring, C, a floating orb, or D, a mysterious creature?
Mysterious creature.
Man, you are 10 for 10, sir. And you get a bonus question.
All right.
All right. Who of all these? A, Audrey, B, Shelley, C, Donna, or D, Norma?
Shelley.
Shelley?
Shelley.
Why Shelley?
Shelley's just, she's the best.
You think so?
Yeah, I'm into Shelley.
Okay. All right. I'm actually a Norma guy myself. I like her a lot, but
I like Norma, but Shelley's got that, yeah. She's just got that special something. I'm a Shelley guy.
Okay. Another story back in LA, we did a Twin Peaks hosting event because season 3 was around that time, and there was a bunch of the cast members of the show that were showing up to a bar that I was working at. And it's interesting because I read the guest list. David Lynch was on there. Kyle MacLachlan was on there. I was like, I wonder if they're actually going to show. Well, Machen Amik was the one who actually organized the event. And she came and was really friendly, was really nice. And then somebody else showed up and was like, yeah, I'm here for the pop-up event. And I was like, I didn't notice her name on the list. And I said, who are you here to see? Or like, who is, vetting you or whatever? And she was like, oh, it's Machen. And I was like, I went in and I was like, hang on here for a second. And like, I went in and I had to like tell her, hey, do you know this person? She's here for you or something like that. And she said, oh yeah, that's I think it was her daughter or something like that, or one of her family members. And then I remember she walked out there and was like, oh, hey, how are you? Walked back in, got me the iciest glaze ever.
Whoa.
I was like, I am so sorry. I'm just doing my job, like, and I felt like such an asshole after that. But hey, You know, it is what it is. There's could be some
Yeah.
crazy people that show up. You never know.
Right. You're just trying to, do your due diligence. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, Shelly. Sorry. So now with From Autumn to Ashes, I
Yeah.
remember that Fran Mark was the longtime drummer for that. And then whenever Ben left the band, he replaced Ben. And so how did you get connected with those guys? Had you known them through touring with ZAO and then you got connected with them to play?
No, it's crazy. Like I know ZAO had done stuff like they never toured together, but I know there were times where ZAO and From Autumn to Ashes like intertwined. Uh, it literally was. There was a point where right after we put out The Fear Is What Keeps Us Here in 2006, that ZAO pretty much agreed to stop touring. And it wasn't even that like we were going to do like we're doing now. It was like Scott and Dan in particular were just like, we don't want to do this right now. We don't know that we'll ever do it again. We want to put the brakes on and other stuff in life going. And I basically, I talked to them and our manager, and I'm like, look, I'm still ready to, I want to tour. I want to play. I want to do stuff. So I said, I'm going to put it out there that I'm available because I want to work. I want to play. And so we did. We put out our manager and put out a thing saying that I was leaving ZAO, which there was no ZAO to leave. It just, but it hit all the typical music websites like Lamb Goat and all that stuff. Within 24 hours, I got an email from Carl that ran Ferret Records, where ZAO was at the time, and he was like, hey, I know that From Autumn to Ashes needs a drummer for some tour dates they have coming up. Would you be available? I'm like, absolutely. So they called me up. I went and played a couple songs with them, and they're like, okay, we have 10 weeks of a tour coming up. Do you want to go do this? And I'm like, yeah. So I started out with me just filling in for this tour. And then again, I just stayed. Yeah. It was literally, so again, it was like, Carl at Ferret hooked me up with From Autumn to Ashes. I didn't know them, any of the From Autumn to Ashes guys at all. It was just, Carl at Ferret was our connecting point. And so I toured with From Autumn to Ashes for about 2 years. And then From Autumn to Ashes decided to pack it in. And then right at that point, Scott got in touch and said, hey, I want to do another ZAO record. And so it was like literally From Autumn to Ashes filled the void in between when ZAO was completely inactive for about 3 years.
Wow. And was it literally just one right after the other?
They literally, yeah. Like when Scott called and said, I want to do another ZAO record, which is what ended up being the record Awake that we did in 2009. When he called me to say that, I already had booked what I knew were the final From Autumn to Ashes shows. So when he called, I'm like, yeah, we're playing the last From Autumn to Ashes show on April 15th. So after that, I'm available for whatever we need to do for me to record. And yeah. And now, now it worked out great because both bands are sort of active. I mean, From Autumn to Ashes is even less active than ZAO. Like there's been no plans of writing or recording. And the past couple years, we've been maybe playing 5 shows a year, like being super selective. I'm like, okay, this is one we can all get to, because that band's even more scattered than ZAO. Like we got a guy in LA, we got a guy in Detroit, the rest of us are in New York. I mean, ZAO is pretty much all Pittsburgh, and then I'm in Brooklyn. So, but ZAO is just, we're still writing and recording and active. ZAO is good for about 15 shows a year. From Autumn to Ashes is good for about maybe 5.
Okay. So and let's rewind a little bit.
Yeah.
What prompted Ben to leave the band and Fran to take his place? I don't think I ever figured that out.
I mean, from what I understand, and like I really didn't know a lot other than what the guys in From Autumn to Ashes told me, and I've talked to Ben now. Like I never knew Ben before I joined. It's odd that we talk now, but like I never had any interactions with him until a couple years ago. Ben just didn't want to do it anymore. Like it was simple as that. He's like, I don't want. That's why he's never been in another band. He's just like, I don't want to do this. Like I think he wasn't having fun. It wasn't for him. Like not just that band, just being
Music
a
in
singer in a
general.
band, music in general.
Mm.
Yeah,
Okay.
like
Yeah.
he's like some like high end bartender. Like I don't want to call it a bartender. I think he does like the like a mixologist kind of stuff. Like he does like
Okay.
fancy like yeah, that's his thing. And
Okay.
I think and yeah, and Fran had a lot of I guess Fran had been sort of writing lyrics for Ben and sort of like coaching him into like, all right, this is what you're gonna sing here, and I'm gonna sing these parts. And they had sort of prepped their last record. Fran's like, I don't know if he's gonna have anything prepared, so I have everything written, and these are the parts that he'll sing, and this, and then he just never showed up at the recording studio. Like Ben was
Oh.
supposed to, and he like it was like that. Like he just like kind of ghosted them. Like they're sitting there at the studio
Oh.
waiting for him to show up, and Fran's like, I'll just sing all the parts. And then they were just like, oh, we got to go on tour, and he's like, I can't sing the whole show from behind the drum kit. So that's
Was
where
that for the Holding the Wolf by the Ears
yeah,
album?
yeah.
Oh wow. Yeah, I remember when I heard that he became the lead singer. I was like, what happened? And I guess kind of answers my question, you
And
know.
I guess the record before that, Ben was kind of shutting down a little bit. So Fran took a lot more singing duties on that one. And so it was a gradual, this is like, I think he was just afraid to tell them. I mean, that's the vibe I always got. Like, I don't want to do this. I don't know how to quit. And then he's like, he just ripped the Band-Aid off and like ghosted everybody.
Yeah. Well,
And I mean, to be fair, when we were doing like the reunion shows recently, there was one point where Fran reached out to Ben and said, would you like to even show up and do 2 songs, 3, whatever? He didn't want to. No, he's like, I don't want to. He's like, I don't want to. So
just wanted to close that chapter in his life, I guess.
It happens. Yeah. I think everyone's moved on. It's fine. Like there's no bitterness or bad blood. There's no bitterness and bad blood in the ZAO world with like Jesse or anybody. We talk to everybody. Everybody interacts.
Yeah.
Like
that's good. Yeah. Sometimes people's priority change. Life happens. Things get in the way. You got to shift. You got to redirect. I had to do that here recently. I wasn't really expecting it, but at the same time, it was kind of a relief. Like I was going to play for a project and I was just juggling all sorts of other projects. And they were like, we're going to look for somebody local. I was like, cool. No worries. You know, like no ill will, no animosity, nothing, you know,
sometimes
still talk to the dudes. Yeah.
I've been in a lot of situations where it actually was made worse because the person wouldn't just quit. And then you were just like, you're making everyone miserable. If you don't want to be here, just quit.
Yeah.
So, and like, like that's where the bitterness usually comes in. If somebody's like, I don't want to do this anymore, no one's angry at that. It's like, thanks for telling us. Like,
it could be that they have enough decency that they don't want to leave the rest of the band hanging, you know, like, but in their own way, they're just making things exponentially worse by clinging on and just not moving on, like you said.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a bummer. Now, I always ask bands this, and we had sort of talked about this a little bit backstage. What is your most interesting or crazy tour story? Typically funny stories, stuff that's kind of humorous. And, you know, Russ had a few, Scott had a few. What do you got?
All right. This one was kind of terrifying, but ended up becoming silly. And we'll revert back to our Twin Peaks. So ZAO was on tour. It was a tour in like, once again, like this is one of the things I would never do this now because I'm smarter than this. I've learned. We were on tour in mid-January through early March. ZAO was on tour. We were on tour with In Flames, Trivium, Devil Driver, and ZAO. And it was a tour in the dead of winter that was hitting places up north. So we're playing, which is, you don't do that because of weather, like it's just dangerous. So we were playing in Seattle in late January. It was pouring down rain. Now it was relatively warm for late January. We had to get to, I forget what, we had a long drive. coming out of Seattle. I think we were trying to get to Salt Lake City or Boise. No, it was like Seattle. We had to get to Boise the next day. So it was like, we got to get out of Seattle. It's a long drive and just get, we were trying to drive like an hour and a half out to get to a hotel. So we leave after the show. It's raining, relatively warm. I fall asleep in the back of the van. I wake up and we are in a total tailspin, van and trailer, spinning through a massive blizzard. Like the driver lost control of the van in the snow, blizzard. We jackknifed into a giant, like 12-foot snowdrift on the side of the road because we're up in the mountains. You leave Seattle, and so we're jackknifed into this snowdrift. It's insane. It was an immediate whiteout. Roads covered. 18-wheeler pulls over. There's a state cop there. They pull over. They see us. They help us. We all manually get the trailer and the van pulled out of the snow. The state trooper is like, if you could drive up 100 feet, there's an exit. There is a hotel at the base of the exit. So we slowly are barely making our way up this thing. We get down the exit. There's a hotel. There's so much snow. They have to get into the parking lot. It was like they hollowed out a tunnel in the snow. It was the snow buildup was so bad. We go into the hotel. It's like 2 a.m. It literally seemed like a hotel out of Twin Peaks. It felt like the Great Northern. There was a chandelier in the lobby that was made out of like deer antlers, with light bulbs on the end of it. The guy behind the counter had a dog, but with him behind the counter, and he was talking to the dog, like having a conversation with the dog, because we're like, we need a room, like we can't drive in this. He's like, I'll get you checked in. I'm just waiting for this thing to reboot, and then like, oh, we're just like sitting there, like we almost just died, like we just want to go to bed. So this guy's talking to the dog the whole time we're sitting there. This hotel's giving creepy vibes. The guy's he had a sweater on that had a picture of a horse shitting out money. And he's like talking to his dog, and there's like the antlers. We're like, this is fucking bizarre. We finally get into the hotel. Like I open up the curtains in the room. You couldn't see out the window because there was snow literally up. We're just like, this is nuts. So I run back out to the front desk, and I'm like, yeah, we got to leave early in the morning. Like, what's the weather like up here? He's like, oh yeah, we're supposed to get like 4 or 5 tonight. I'm like, 4 to 5 inches. He's like, no, feet. I'm like, oh. He's like, don't worry, we're used to it. We'll have it cleared out. We did. We got up the next morning. We're literally driving down the road. It's like walls of like snow, like 20 feet in the air on either side of the road. It's like you're driving through a canyon. We get to like 5 miles later, we get to the bottom of the hill. Not a drop of snow on the ground. Birds were floating around. Turns out this whole time, do you know where this entire thing happened?
Where?
Snoqualmie Pass, where Twin Peaks was filmed.
No way.
The whole time we were in Snoqualmie.
Holy shit.
Literally wet. And I did go back and look, and we weren't staying at the hotel that was the model of the Great Northern by the waterfall.
Yeah.
It was down the road. We were down the road from the Great Northern the whole time. We had no idea that's where we were at. And I'm like, if we would have known, like, we were recently on tour, and we took a day and we stayed, like we went in and we ate at the Double R Diner. Like, and we went and saw the Great Northern and the waterfall and all that. And I did see the hotel that we stayed at. We drove past it. I'm like, that's the hotel we stayed at. Yeah, it was. But yeah, everything that guy was doing was literally, he was behaving like a character out of Twin Peaks. Like, and he wasn't aware that he was.
Wow. Maybe Lynch used that as like a direct source of inspiration or something. Or maybe you fell into like an alternate universe where you were in like season 4 of Twin Peaks or something.
But even then, to that day, that is why ZAO, we will not play above. We will not do any kind of show where we have to drive any kind of distance above the Mason-Dixon line between December 1st and like mid-March. I just won't do it. If there's going to snow there, I'm not attempting it. It's not worth it. We'll wait till the weather warms up.
Yeah, that's a fair cautionary measure to take. Scott from Bleeding Through was on this show, and they just had the worst luck with vans and accidents.
Their accident, I think, made CNN the one time.
It did. Yeah. TMZ, I think it was actually. But yeah, it was. Whoa, it was bad.
Around the same area? I wonder.
I don't know
where theirs was. It may have been around that area.
I'm not sure. Scott was actually gonna come to. He had a question for you, but I said you need to come to the show and ask the question, Scott. But I don't know if he's here or not. But I'll have to ask him if that's the same location. But yeah, another one, Candiria. They had a van accident. You know, horrible. What was it? All Else Failed had one. Just awful. I can only imagine what it would be like to have to go through something like that. Compromise. That was another one. Compromise. Awful.
It's not worth driving, and it's not worth trying to tour in certain areas at that time of year. That would be my biggest advice I ever gave a band. Like if you have to tour between like January and March, like just go down south. Just go down.
Go to South America.
Just go, like, just hit all the places in Florida. Go Georgia, Texas.
Exactly.
Do all that. Get it out of the way then.
Just don't go during hurricane season. You'll really be hating life. Do you have any sort of album or any of projects that you've played in that you have a particular attachment to?
Ooh, in what way? Like something that
maybe that feels weird. More personal to you.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. It's weird because like I get really like, as much as I love recording and being in the studio, it's really hard for me to, once it's done, to go back and look at it or like listen to something. So it's strange. Every once in a while I do have to revisit an old recording. And I will be able to listen to it objectively if it's long enough away that I'm just like, oh, okay, yeah, this was really something special. I mean, honestly, the one that flew under the radar the most, I think probably the record that I'm most proud of, just because we did it completely under the radar, was a band that I still play with occasionally. It was this band called Emmanuel and the Fear. Emmanuel and the Fear put out a record in 2012. It was called The Janus Mirror. And I think that might be, I recently had to revisit that because we're going to start playing again, and we were going to play a bunch of material from that, and I had to listen to it, and I was just like, wow, I don't think I've ever made a record like this before, like in terms of like the scope of it. Because that band, it's we do a lot of like orchestrations. Like it has string players in it. It started out as like an 11-member band with like a string section and brass players and
like Godspeed.
Sort of, but more from a straight up rock pop kind of. I wouldn't want to say pop. It's more from like a rock vibe. Like that record in particular, we were channeling And You Will Know Us by the Trail of Dead. Quadrophenia by the Who. Those were our
just watched that film, by the way.
But those are our touchstones, like bombastic, kind of prog-ish, aggressive rock with strings, and I just listened to it again recently, and I'm like, yeah, I wish more people knew about this record because I felt like we really made a statement with this, and no one ever heard it.
I am not familiar with it, and so it sounds really awesome to me. I'm going to have to go check it out whenever we're done with this. So yeah, that's cool that you're continuing along with that.
Yeah. So that's
now. With like media, what are you doing as far as what sort of television shows do you watch? What sort of movies do you watch? What sort of literature do you read? And what are you listening to at present? What do you think is really good that's upcoming bands or even just stuff that is like comfort music stuff that you listen to that you enjoyed in the past?
I mean, on the music side, recently, like, and this has been going on for about a year or so now, and I have to thank Dan Wyatt for this. I just kind of can't stop listening to King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. He got me absolutely hooked on that band. Scott's on board now. Marty kind of floats around with it, but yeah, like that band has it all for me. Like I
Yeah.
just and I don't know if you're familiar, but they just
Yeah, I thought it was Led Zeppelin when I heard it.
yeah. But well, it depends on what record you heard because there's all kinds of stuff going on there.
It was my roommate at the time when I was out west, and he put on this album, and I was like, "Man, this sounds like Led Zeppelin." I was like, but I knew in the back of my mind it wasn't Led Zeppelin. I was like, "Who is this?" And he was like, "It's King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard." And I'm like, "That's a wild fucking name right there." I was like,
I mean,
"Okay."
sometimes there's a thrash record they put out. Sometimes it's all analog
Okay.
synths and modular synths. Sometimes it's a blues rock record. Sometimes it like and they put out like 5 records a year. So it's just like ugh.
Oh wow.
It's like a universe. And so that's been my thing for a while.
That's like Ty Segall. Like Ty
Yeah,
Segall will put out like 10
very
records
similar
in one
scene.
year, and they're all very like more so like garage rockish type stuff,
Yeah.
but yeah, just kind of the same output speed, like
And
that
they
frequency.
very similar fan bases, very similar like universes. Yeah. So you're yeah.
Yeah. I didn't
Um
know that they shifted genres
oh
actually.
yeah.
He only showed me that one album. I'm like, "Oh, this is cool." And I just
Oh
never
yeah.
really
Be careful.
followed up on it.
You'll end up going on a deep dive. There's a
Okay.
lot of stuff there. TV. I'm weird with TV lately.
Huh.
Like I felt like because there were so many shows like I never saw, and then like every once in a while I'll try to like catch up on something, but like it's hard for me to do deep dives. Like my attention span's so weird right now that like
Yeah.
my guilty pleasure with TV right now is certain reality shows because that's where my attention span is. Like I
Okay.
really I really love the Real Housewives of Salt Lake. I don't like a lot of the other housewife shows. The Salt Lake
Okay.
ladies are my jam. And I also like
Why
that
why are they unique?
just the way they fight, like they fight a lot more. It's a lot more drunken conversations at like a resort and somebody throws a drink at someone kind of stuff. Like that's my vibe. That's my vibe.
Okay.
Uh
It's interesting that you should bring them up because somebody had posted the little girl that was in Assault from Precinct 13. She went on to become the one that I don't know if you're familiar with the movie, but she asked for an ice cream code and the guy shoots her, and she ended
okay.
up becoming one of the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills.
Uh
And apparently, the behind the scenes is that a lot of these women just really kind of get along initially. And what
yeah.
happens is that the production staff will go and they'll give them wine and they'll get them drunk
Yeah.
and
Just
then
put
they'll
them on an
try to
island somewhere.
stir up shit. They'll be like,
Yeah.
"Hey, Nancy over there thinks you're kind of a bitch," and like they'll just stir the pot and get
That's
things rolling
exactly
so
what
that they
happened.
have things to film. That's so messed up.
Yeah, and I literally the go-to is like just The Office is on a constant loop in our house. It's like if we can't figure out what
Mhm.
else to put on, it's like I'll just put The Office on again and it just plays in the background. Like that's
Okay.
when I get
Okay.
into movies, like I've been digging a lot more into like older stuff that I never saw that I just never saw this movie before. Like and I
Sure.
the one like recently that I watched that like just blew my mind. It's one of the most depressing films I've ever seen, and it's like mentally and physically exhausting. Um, can't remember who all was. I know Jane Fonda was in it. They shoot horses, don't they? Have you ever
I've
seen
read
that
the
movie?
book of that. I did not know they made a film for it though.
Yeah, it's like the whole concept. Like it's like pretty much Great Depression. Bunch of people like really hard up for money, so they would have like this
Okay.
like dance party, like an endurance test. It was like an dance marathon, and like the last people standing get this big payout. And it's like, but
Wow.
these people are literally doing this for like survival, and it is
Yeah.
so it is such an intense film, and like so
Wow.
dark, so depressing.
I
And
have that book somewhere.
oh,
I
the
saw
movie's
the
incredible.
Is
It's
it?
a
I saw the author do a presentation of it when I lived in Montana, and I wish I could remember what the author's name was. But and I guess there is a film adaptation. I remember it now, but yeah, I'll definitely have to watch it. Is it like 80s?
I want to say it was like maybe mid to late 70s.
Oh, okay,
I think it was mid to late 70s. I can't remember who else.
okay,
I'm almost positive Jane Fonda's in.
okay.
Uh,
Yeah, I'll give
yeah,
it a
it's
watch. I just
like one of
watched
the
Grapes of Wrath, which is Depression era, and that is a depressing fucking movie. You
yeah,
know?
yeah. Uh, yeah, I mean, it's just like little stuff. Like I'm like on the catch up mode. Like even like somewhat more recent stuff. Like I had never seen Knives Out until a week ago.
What'd you
Like
think?
I liked Glass Onion better, even though
Really?
everyone told me it was the other way around. I like Glass Onion better. I liked Knives
I
Out. Like I like the concept. I love Daniel Craig.
I really wanted to give it a chance, but after Ryan Johnson's abysmal Last Jedi, I was like, I don't know. I was like, I don't know if I can, like it. And you know what the weird thing is, and from talking with you behind the scenes, I understand you're a Star Wars fan, which is funny because Peter Edge that came on from Inclination, we were supposed to do trivia, and I was going back and looking through the messages, trying to compile some trivia to see, okay, who wants to do what, and you were one of the ones that had mentioned Star Wars, and I was like, I had attributed to him. And so
Right.
I wrote him up 10 Star Wars questions. I was like, we're going to do some Star Wars trivia. He was like, oh, okay. And then I was like, oh, wait, it was Jeff that wanted to do some Star Wars trivia.
Oh,
So
I say either
completely.
one. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, no,
I'm in
but
the
he
minority. I'm one of those rare breed that likes Last Jedi. I liked it.
really,
I enjoyed it.
okay.
I enjoyed it.
Okay. It was one of those things where I really liked The Force Awakens when I first watched it. And then
Yeah,
I
it's good.
realized it was it was almost a carbon copy of A New Hope, And
Yeah.
then like Last Jedi, there were aspects of it I enjoyed. There was things that I thought that they could have taken. For example, everybody gives Laura Dern's character so much shit. And from having been in the military leaders don't have to tell you shit. They
Right.
really don't. And they're like, why didn't she tell him what was going on? And it's like, because they don't have to. Like, they just say, you have to do this. And if you question their authority or whatever, you're going to get fucked up, And
Yeah.
so I understood that part of it. What I felt that they could have done to correct the situation is she's not telling him what she's doing because she plans on sacrificing the ship. Because if she told them what she was doing, then they would no, don't do that.
Right.
Don't you we can save you, But like the crashing the ship just turned out to be like a last minute thing. Like, oh shit, like we need to do this to save the
Right.
transport ships or whatever, And so I think if they had connected it that way, it would have made a lot more sense, But I love the look of the movie. I love the the first order cruisers and what have you, and I think it was really like there were aspects of it I really enjoyed, but ultimately, and I don't know what you thought about Rise of Skywalker.
See, I enjoyed that far less. And
Okay.
well, because here's how I look at it. Force Awakens was a carbon copy because they realized that the prequels were not a carbon copy of the original
Right.
trilogy and they got destroyed. So they're like, we got to pull people back in. So they
Mm-hmm.
made Force Awakens, but it had enough threads that they could explore. That it could have went into something, and that's what I liked about Last Jedi. I'm like, oh, this is like doing things that Star Wars never really did before. I like this direction it's going. There were some things that were awkward in Last Jedi, but I wanted to see where those threads went. Rise of the
Sure.
Skywalker tried to course correct so much that by default it kind of made Last Jedi worse.
I think it made it better, truthfully. I think it like
some way, but it also made it worse in some ways, because now it just makes it look like, oh, Rian Johnson just did all this stuff to did mess stuff up, and it's like, they should have just had one director do all three.
I agree. Well, or at least
I don't care who the director was. Pick one director, have them do all three. Like this.
Yeah,
passing on.
I think if they had done that JJ, Scotty says hi, by the way. I think that JJ would have been probably the right choice, because originally it had always slated to be JJ Abrams, Rian Johnson, and then they were going to have Colin Trevorrow that did Jurassic World do it. And then it just, because Last Jedi completely disintegrated, they're like, well, we got to bring in, JJ to course correct. And like you said, completely overcompensated, just completely like, oh, well, they didn't like this. Well, let's do something in the complete, let's do a complete, turn on that. And let's just do something that we think people will like. Like, I think bringing Palpatine back was stupid. Yeah, like, that was so stupid, It was
it's not unprecedented for what Star Wars does. But
right.
Here's the thing. The thing that's most frustrating is they had a team of people in their backyard the whole time that they could have handed the movies over to, which is basically the people that are making the series now.
Jon Favreau, Dave Filoni. Yeah.
They had a team of people there that they could have given movies to. Because I love all the series stuff. There hasn't been anything that's bummed me out with any of those.
Oh, really?
I love every one of the series, and I was really bummed out that the Acolyte got slammed the way it did.
Really? I heard it was just absolutely abysmal, and I just never approached it.
There was one episode that was awkward, but I think they were doing something new and looking at a time period that's been unexplored, and they gave up on it too quick. I was excited about that.
All right, all right. I loved Andor.
I did. I love Mandalorian. I'm all about where they're going with that stuff.
Really looking forward to Andor season 2, which is coming out soon. I think that, truthfully, I think that's probably some of the best Star Wars writing in years. Like, that just blew me away. Like, I feel like that could have been on HBO or something. Like, that's because the quality of writing was just amazing. Like, the team they had behind it was so incredible. They had a bunch of the Chernobyl guys that were in it, and then the guy that wrote the Bourne movies, the Bourne Identity movies and whatnot. And Stellan Skarsgård, just, man, that guy can act. He's incredible.
Yeah, like I said, they have a good team over there. They just I don't know why I'm glad they took a break from movies, and I think they figured it out with the series stuff. So we'll see where they go if they make movies again. I think they're looking at it in a different light now. Hopefully, I don't know. I'm one of those. Bad Star Wars is better than no Star Wars. That's the way I look at it. Like, I'll watch bad Star Wars any day, as opposed to years of nothing, which is what we had.
Oh man, I don't know. I don't know if I could share with that sentiment, because I'm a big Star Trek guy too, and Star Trek has they need to definitely make some course corrections, because
I haven't seen the last couple things. The last thing I saw was Voyager. So that's my.
Oh wow!
I haven't seen anything past Voyager.
That's 20 years ago. Yeah. Well, tell you what, that's a good place to stop. I mean, I would encourage you to watch Enterprise. Like, I really like Enterprise, because I feel like after, with Star Trek, the original series, Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, and then Enterprise, tonally, I think they're all like they mesh well together, because they just seem so like they fit in the same universe. And to speak of JJ again, when JJ got involved, that was kind of the whole template that they wanted to go with in order to, bring about future Star Trek. Let's make it fast. Let's make it loud. What's going on here? What's the emotion? Don't care. Keep moving. Let's go. Right. And it was just so schizophrenic and just so action-packed that I think it lost a lot of this thoughtfulness and the cerebral aspect of the original series. So, truthfully, if you wanted to watch another one, Enterprise would be it. I didn't want to watch it for a long time because I felt like it would be like a big letdown, and it really wasn't. It really,
Okay.
I enjoyed it. It's 4 seasons too, so it's not too bad, you know. But uh, what is a piece of advice that you would give to your younger self?
Ooh, piece of advice for my younger self. Uh, I mean, I'm assuming that would be to like course correct something that I wish I could change.
Or maybe something you wish you had done that you didn't do or didn't do until later?
Um, it's gonna sound weird. I probably would tell my younger self not to bother with college.
Mm,
I mean, what for what I did with it. I mean, I I could have got the stuff that I got out of going in as a like a music as a music major, because I went into college to be like I went in under the music ed umbrella. So it's like, oh, you're
mm,
studying music, but you'll eventually be a teacher, um, which I never really wanted to do. I'm just like, oh well, I'll get to work on my craft while I'm also learning this thing that I could turn into a backup job. I
right.
probably would have just said, don't bother. Like
Okay.
anything you're getting on the musical side, you can get somewhere else and not have to go through the college system and free yourself up.
Mm.
That was that. I mean, that's if I could go back and do it all again, I probably would have studied to be an electrician. I've always been fascinated by that.
Really?
Yeah, and it comes in
I
handy in the music thing. How many times are people trying to
oh
like
sure.
rewire like amps and like all that stuff? Like, I wish I would have gotten into all that stuff, like
Yeah.
fixing
I had an
gear and
opportunity to be a union electrician, and I'm still afraid of getting bit. Like I don't think I could do it. And everybody's like, no. These union electrician guys are like, no, you got to do it. Everybody's got to get bit at least once. I'm like, nah, not for me, man. Not for me, you know? So, but they make really good money. So, you
yeah,
know, maybe
there's a
that's a piece
union.
of advice
Yeah.
I could have given myself, you know, overcome my fear of getting shocked. So, no, that's great. And I can kind of relate to you in that I did pursue an artistic major. And in hindsight, wish I'd streamlined it a little bit more. Like I went to two separate acting conservatories and I wish I'd just gone to one. And I don't think that I don't think that I could have nearly put so much time into it as far as the educational aspect. I wish I'd just kind of done more of the audition aspect of it, but you know, life's not over. So, hey, for what it's worth, I got to learn different methods and different techniques and stuff. But I can relate to what you're saying in that doing the educational like trajectory that you were trying to ensure that you might have a job, you know, that is related to your career field. I think that that's
Yeah.
really commendable, actually.
Oh, I could actually. Oh, here's a good one. This is going to work for both of us. Entertainment
Okay.
law.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
I'm
that would
still
come.
young, baby.
That could have come in handy a lot of times.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
Oh,
yeah,
geez, even for
yeah,
myself.
this contract doesn't hold water.
Yeah. Even for myself, you know, like projects that I've been related, you know, had some sort of relation to. Yeah, for sure. And I'm still young. Who knows? Maybe I'll go to it. I don't know. But um, yeah. So let's talk about the future of ZAO and From Autumn to Ashes. I know you've got some announcements that you can't really get into the specifics of the details for, but you've got some things in the works.
Yeah. Yeah. From Autumn to Ashes has a show being announced tomorrow. Whatever. I don't even know.
Tomorrow.
April 14th.
Yep.
Yeah, I can't say anything. It's a one-off. Um, Nothing else really planned right now. We may do some shows before the end of the year. I don't know. ZAO, we're doing it's like a sort of a rebirth of the Hellfest. It's in East Rutherford, New Jersey this July. So we're doing that. We do have a 2-week tour of the Midwest and Upper Midwest that's going to be happening in August. I am not allowed to announce anything about that yet. the background business stuff.
Sure.
ZAO is playing at Furnace Fest this year. We're playing the Liberate album in its entirety, and that is the only time we are doing that. We've always been against the whole like, oh, we're going on tour for this album's 20th anniversary, and we're going to play it top to bottom. We've resisted it. We've been offered big money to do it. We're not interested. We figured for Furnace Fest, they asked, would you do this? And we're like, we will do it for you. Because we have a history with Furnace Fest. We're like, we will do Liberate for you. They asked for the right album. They asked for an album we wouldn't mind playing every song on. Other than that, ZAO has some stuff in the pipeline, recording-wise and writing-wise. Nothing complete enough. I don't think there'll be anything coming out in 2025 recording-wise, but I'm really pushing to have stuff come out in 2026. Maybe a lot of stuff coming out in 2026.
I was telling Russ, I was like, I would love to hear some more stuff that's kind of similar to Into the Jaws of Dread. That song to me is so powerful, and it's so unlike anything you do. Excellent. Yeah. Oh man, it's a beautiful song. Like, and I don't exaggerate when I say that. Like, it's just like the swells and the crescendos, and we're talking about the layering again. How it just keeps going up and up and up, and then it boom down. I love that.
I mean, the thing is, like, it's hard to say until the material's done and we start to really like figure out like how we're going to frame it, like recording wise and mood wise. I would say of the material that's floating around now, if you looked at our last record, The Crimson Corridor, the stuff like Into the Jaws of Dread, Croatoan, The Web, the more like atmosphere kind of not necessarily like aggressive, like the more like relaxed, tense, spacious kind of stuff. That's probably more the rule than the exception on the new material. It's like stuff like Into the Jaws of Dread was probably more a preview of where we're headed, as opposed to that being like, oh, here's this odd little song they did. I think that's for most of the stuff that I've heard from the ideas and the demos floating around, it's pushing a little bit heavier to that side.
There was a few comments and questions here. Oh, Russ says Lucille Ball was the creator of Star Trek, for your information. That is true. Lucille Ball actually saved Star Trek. She said she really enjoyed the show. They were supposed to cancel it, and she went to bat for them, and thank God, because we got so many great seasons of it afterward. I can't speak for any of the new seasons because I didn't like it, but what she did in the 60s, great stuff.
And actually, in a couple days, I'm going to be in Chautauqua. I think it's in Chautauqua, where she's from, and I'm going to go see the Lucille Ball statues.
Oh, cool!
The ugly one, nice. and the nice one.
I didn't know there was a difference. No.
Yeah, they made a statue to honor her in her hometown. She's from Chautauqua. They made a statue to honor her, and then I guess like her estate like flipped out because it doesn't look anything like her. It's like completely unflattering, and they got pissed off. They commissioned someone else to make one that apparently is very beautiful and looks more like her, but they left both
good.
Up. So I'm gonna go see the ugly one and the good one.
That's hilarious. Somebody also made a comment here real quick. Said the accident was in Utah right before the Wyoming border on Highway 80.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah,
that's the bleeding through accident. Yeah, because Wyoming is.
Nuts. Oh, is that?
I think that is Scott. That's Scott from Bleeding Through.
Oh, excellent. Cool. Well, he didn't ask the question that he was going to ask, but I'll ask him about it afterwards.
I know for a fact that stretch of Wyoming, I've been on tours where they have literally, you can't get into Wyoming. If you're coming out of Colorado, they're like, this road is closed. You can't go. You can't drive. They'll do it for wind. They'll do it for snow. Yeah, so if that happened in Wyoming's rough, man.
Yeah.
When that wind kicks in.
Yeah. I lived in Montana for 7 years, and the winds were insane, and they would blow up these huge snowdrifts called Chinooks. and just like a foot of like a wall of snow, like up on the side of a building or like the side of a mountain or something like that. Wild, wild.
I saw what
Oh,
Scott wants. I see what Scott wants to know
you
about.
see it? Okay.
No comment.
No comment.
No comment. What happens in San Antonio stays in San Antonio.
There you go. It's like on a Chappelle show where it says, "I plead the fifth." That's what you got to do. That's what you got to do. But it sounds crazy. But got one more question here. Was Jeff the drummer on ZAO's Lives from the Church? Yeah, we played the video for it at the beginning. Yeah, it's killing it, slaying. Love it. Yeah, I love it. Well, dude, I appreciate you so much for doing this show. I think you're doing some really awesome things, and I can't wait to hear new ZAO material from you. And hopefully one of these days, maybe some new from Autumn Nash's material. Who knows? So, you know, I think you're out there. Yeah, I think you're out there killing it. And, you know, whatever you got going on, whether it be playing for drag shows or upcoming shows with ZAO or from Autumn Nash's, I'll be sure to post them in the comments section. Like I had mentioned at the beginning of the hour to everybody, I've got an official merchandising company, hellsheartco.bigcartel.com. Use a code 20 for 20% off your entire order. If you like movies, if you like hardcore, metal, got some stuff up there. We actually have a shirt that we did for ZAO. It's from Event Horizon. It's a ZAO inspired shirt. Don't want to go on any encroach on any merchandising rights, Danny. No, Danny's a great guy, but you know, I got you guys' blessing to do that shirt, which thank you guys for that, by the way, too. It's a really awesome shirt. So I'll, you know, if you don't mind sticking around for a few minutes, I'll get your information and your size. I'll get one out to you. They're really awesome shirts. So anybody, if you're interested, pick one up. We've only got a handful left. We've got I think 5 or 6 left. So pick one up and use the code 20 and you'll get 20% off whatever you purchase. Even if it's multiple shirts, you'll get all of it for 20% off. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you guys for coming to the show and attending the stream and all of your interaction. Like I'd mentioned before, like, comment, share, subscribe, click on that bell for notifications. And if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Music, give us a follow and give us a rating, because that would be so amazing of you. Again, Jeff Gretz, I want to thank you so much, sir.
No problem. My pleasure.
All right, everybody. Namaste. God bless.